You own a multi-tool right now that you paid real money for, and it is doing absolutely nothing. It is in a drawer, or a glove box, or the bottom of a bag. Meanwhile, the actual work in your life, the taped-up boxes and the loose screws and the snagged threads, is getting handled by a cheap thing on your keychain, or a folding knife, or your bare hands. Here is what nobody at the counter will tell you. The tool didn't let you down. The way you bought it did. Every tool I am about to name is somebody's daily driver, so this is not a hit piece on brands. It is that you keep buying the wrong one for you. So here are 9 rules every multi-tool buyer breaks. I have broken most of them, and I have watched a lot of good carriers break the rest. The 9th is the one guys who have carried these for 20 years still get wrong, and we will end there. Number 1. You bought it before you ever decided how you were going to carry it. This is the one underneath all the others, so we start here. Think about the actual order you shopped in. You picked the tool, you got excited about the tool, and then, only then, you tried to figure out where it was going to live on your body, and the answer turned out to be nowhere. I did this with a big heavy-duty tool years ago, loved it in my hand at the counter. Then I found out I was not going to wear a heavy brick on my hip to a desk job, and it was too fat for my front pocket, so it went into the truck. Then into a drawer in the truck, then into a drawer in the house. It is a good tool and it has done almost nothing for me, because a multi-tool you are not carrying is just a paperweight that folds. The fix is to make the carry decision first, before you look at a single product. Are you going to wear a sheath on your belt every day, honestly? Some guys will, and it is great. Most of us won't. Are you going to clip something in a pocket? Then weight and thickness matter more than tool count. Or is the truth that the only thing you reliably have on you is your keys? Because if it is, the smartest multi-tool you can own is a tiny one that rides on the keychain and never asks you to remember it. Ask a room full of people who have carried for years what they actually reach for most, and a surprising number will point at the little keychain thing, not the big flagship on the belt. The best tool is the boring one that is always there. Carriers even have a name for the tool they lean on every day. They call it a third hand, the thing you reach for without thinking. You never build that habit with something in a drawer. You build it with the small tool that never leaves your pocket, and that quietly beats the big one you keep forgetting at home. Number 2. 21 tools, and you reach for 3. You bought the loaded model because 21 sounded like more value than 14. Now look hard at the last month. You opened the blade, you used the pliers once, maybe. You used a screwdriver. Everything else on that tool has never seen daylight, and some of it you have never figured out at all. Here is a trick a carrier taught me that works every time. Go look at the biggest, most loaded flagship in the lineup. Now mentally cross off every single tool on it you know for a fact you would never touch. The saw. The bit you have to store separately. The thing you cannot even identify. Keep crossing off. When you are done, look at what is left, and go buy the small tool that has just those. 9 times out of 10 you have talked yourself out of the loaded flagship and into something stripped down like a skelly tool. And that is the one you will actually carry. Your real list is short. For most of us, it is a blade, a scissors, or a pair of pliers, and a driver. That is the whole job. The corkscrew and the bottle opener are things you use for other people at parties, not tools you carry for yourself. Buy for your real 3, and you quit hauling around a pocket full of stuff you are never going to open. And the single biggest thing you are never going to open might be the pliers themselves. Number 3. You bought a pair of pliers you are never going to squeeze. This one makes people mad, so I will go slow. A multi-tool, the classic folding kind, is built around pliers. That is the spine of it. And a huge number of people carrying one have not used the pliers in months, because their real daily problems are a loose thread, a taped shut box, a package, a snack bag, a screw going wobbly. None of that needs pliers. All of it needs scissors and a blade. So you are standing in line at the store, and to open a granola bar you pull a full set of needle-nose pliers out of your pocket. That is the energy. Meanwhile, the guy next to you does the same job in 1 second with a little red Swiss Army knife nobody even clocked. And his weighs a fraction of yours. The fix is to ask yourself whether you are really a pliers person. If you spend your days pulling wire, crimping, gripping hot or sharp things, then yes, absolutely, you want the plier tool, and I will get to you in a second. But if your day is offices and errands and light stuff, a small Swiss Army knife, or a knife plus a tiny separate bit driver, does everything you need, weighs almost nothing, and does not read as tactical when you pull it out at a nice dinner. Plenty of sharp carriers run 2 setups on purpose. The plier tool on work days, the slim little knife on office days. Owning pliers is fine. Just make sure your life actually asks you to squeeze a pair before you carry them everywhere. And do not write off the little scissors and pliers on a Swiss Army knife while you are at it. They are smaller, sure, but the spring that half closes those pliers will hold apart for you hands-free, and honestly, the scissors handle more of daily life than the big blade ever will. But say you do want a real blade on you every day. Number 4. The blade is buried where you cannot reach it. You unfold the whole pliers, dig the blade out from the inside, and flip it around. So to open one box, you are doing origami with a metal brick using both hands. And because it is annoying, you stop using it, you go back to a pocket knife, and the multi-tool goes, again, into a drawer. The feature that fixes this is outside access. It means the tools you use most, the blade especially, sit on the outside of the closed tool and open on their own, ideally with one thumb, and lock. Leatherman built a whole run of tools around exactly this. Once you have carried a one-hand outside access blade, going back to the buried kind feels like a downgrade. I know a guy who liked his old fixed tool multi-tool so much in every other way that he literally drilled a hole in the blade so he could flick it open with one hand. That is how much this matters to people who use the thing all day. Ask anyone who pulls their tool dozens of times a shift, an HVAC tech, a stagehand, a maintenance guy, and getting to the blade fast will be near the top of what they care about. Not the tool count, whether they can get the one tool they need right now without a two-handed wrestling match. Buy for that, and once the blade is handled, the next mistake is paying for things you will never use at all. Number 5 is the one I break the most, so take this as a confession, not a lecture. You bought the gimmicks. Somewhere on your tool, or in the box next to it, is a set of special proprietary bits, or a glass breaker, or a fire starter, or a whistle, or a spike for servicing a rifle you do not own. I have a little case of brand-specific flat bits in a drawer right now that I have not opened in 2 years, and I paid extra for it. So I get it. In the store, on that day, you could picture the one moment you might need the thing. You have never been in that moment. It is a desk and a commute. 2 specific traps here. Proprietary bits are the sneaky one. Some tools take special flat bits that only fit that brand, and you carry them in a separate little case, and they are soft and you lose them, and a replacement kit runs you real money that the warranty does not even cover. Compare that to a tool that runs on plain quarter-inch hex bits, the same ones already rattling around your junk drawer. A few bucks for a whole set. One of those you can feed forever. The other one you are renting bits from the manufacturer for life. The second trap is the survival cosplay. This channel is about carrying gear in a city for a normal life, and the when the grid goes down features are dead weight for that life and always have been. A fire starter tucked into otherwise empty space inside a corkscrew. Fine, free real estate. A tool that got thicker, heavier, and a good chunk more expensive so it could hold a ferro rod and a whistle you will never blow is not a survival tool. It is a toy with a good story attached, and the story is what you actually paid for. If a breakdown like this keeps you from wasting money, do me a favor and subscribe. I take apart a different gear category every time, and the only agenda is telling you what is actually worth carrying. Now, these last 4 are where owning a multi-tool and actually knowing one part ways. Number 6. The best tool you own is the one most likely to get taken from you at a checkpoint. Here is the situation nobody plans for. You finally find a tool you love, you carry it everywhere, and then you head to the airport, or a courthouse, or a stadium, or your own office building with a metal detector at the door, and the nice person at the checkpoint keeps your favorite tool forever. People lose more good multi-tools to security bins than to any plier spring ever made. If you fly a lot, or you go through detectors for work, the fix is to own a bladeless option for those days. There are real multi-tools built with no knife at all, pliers and drivers and scissors and a file, that sail through a checkpoint. Leatherman and Victorinox both make versions like this on purpose. And even off the plane, the blade is the part that turns a handy pocket tool into a legal question, because blade length and lock type get decided city by city, and a tool that is fine at home can be a problem 2 towns over. I am not a lawyer, and this changes by where you stand, so the smart move is to check your local rule before you clip it on. Match the tool to where it has to travel, or you are just donating tools to a plastic bin. Number 7. If you did buy a real plier tool, the whole thing lives or dies on one tiny part, and you never checked it. That part is the little wire cutter where the jaws meet. It is also the part every maker is most tempted to cheap out on, because you cannot see it working from across a store. So here is what to actually check. First, are the cutters replaceable? On a lot of good tools, the cutting edges are a separate little insert you can swap out when they dull or chip, instead of the whole tool being ruined. Leatherman puts replaceable cutters on the Wave Plus, the Surge, and a bunch of others, and a fresh insert is about $10. Second, the gap. Work the pliers closed and sight down the two cutting edges against something bright. If light comes through anywhere along them, they are mashing wire instead of slicing it, and that gap is the exact corner the maker cut. The first time I sighted down a pair and saw light through the edges, I put the tool back on the shelf, and I have done it plenty of times since. And here is the twist. That replaceable cutter feature everyone tells you to look for? The little pocket they carve out to hold the swappable insert takes metal out of the exact spot where plier heads snap under load. So the thing that lets you replace a worn cutter is the same thing that makes the head easier to break. Victorinox looked at that trade and skipped replaceable cutters on purpose, and their plier tools are famously hard to break. I would take the older version of one popular Leatherman over the current one for this exact reason, because the newer cutter geometry left a bigger gap, and I am not the only one who says so. Replaceable and unbreakable are pulling against each other. Pick the side that matches how hard you actually use the thing. Number 8 is the one that starts fights. You bought it for the warranty. The pitch is beautiful. 25 years, buy it for life, cry once. And the service really is real. Leatherman and Victorinox will both take care of you for decades. They will fix or replace tools that are long discontinued, and people stay loyal for a lifetime because of it. I am not going to pretend that is nothing. It is a genuine reason those brands earn the money for the right buyer. But you bought it as the whole reason, and that is the mistake, for two cold facts. First, a warranty does not help you at the exact moment a tool fails in your hand on a job. Plenty of carriers will tell you their expensive flagship snapped a plier spring or a blade, while a plain old Swiss Army knife took years of the same abuse and shrugged. Toughness in your hand, right now, matters more than a mail-in promise for later. Second, and this is the landmine, that warranty does not cover what you think it does. Read the fine print on the famous 25-year one. It covers the original owner only, and it leaves out the sheath, the pocket clip, the bit kit, any colored finish, and rust. So the soft parts that actually wear out, and the corrosion you will actually get, are on you. Gerber's warranty, similarly, flat out excludes the replaceable blades and attachments, and most of these never break anyway. They get left in a hotel drawer, they go into a checkpoint bin, they slide out of a pocket on a long drive, and they are just gone. A 25-year warranty is worth nothing on a tool you no longer own. Buy for how it feels and works in your hand today. Let the warranty be the tiebreaker between two tools you already like, never the reason you picked one. Number 9 is the big one, the reckoning, the rule even 20-year carriers still break. You paid flagship money on Reflex, and you never once said the cheaper tool's name out loud. Here is the test. When you bought your last one, did you stop and ask what the extra money was actually buying? Or did you see the trusted logo, feel the reassurance, and pay up? Because there is a whole shelf of tools out there that do about 80% of the flagship's job for roughly a third of the price, and the people who carry hard talk about them all the time. The SOG Power Pint gets named over and over for punching way above its price. Roxxon has been quietly undercutting the big names with one-hand designs and better steel than the price suggests. Carriers throw out names like Nextool and Mossy Oak without being asked. And since the core patents ran out, there is a whole shelf of legal, honest tools under $50 copying the layouts that made the flagships famous, and plenty of them are the tools someone carries every day and never thinks about again. So what does the extra 100 and up actually buy? Consistency, mostly. A tool that comes out of the box the same every single time because it was built to a tighter standard, whether that is in Switzerland or in Portland, Oregon. Plus the long service we just talked about. The cheap ones are more of a gamble. They can be excellent, and they can come loose or soft, and you do not always know which you are getting until you have carried it a while. For a guy who beats on his tool for a living, paying up to remove that gamble is worth every dollar. The flagship earns it, for him, but you have to make that call on purpose instead of defaulting into it. And I will own this one. I have an expensive tool that basically lives at home because I do not want to mark it up, and a cheap one that has ridden in my pocket for 2 years looking like it lost a fight, doing every real job. Every time I notice, I feel a little dumb. If the honest answer is that you carry casually, lose tools, or just do not want to think about it, buy the cheap honest one, and do not look back. There is a real argument for owning 3 $15 tools and shrugging when one dies, instead of one precious tool you are afraid to use. Buy the flagship with your eyes open, and it is a fantastic tool. Buy it on Reflex, without ever pricing the one that does the same job for a third as much, and the extra money just bought you a logo. So look back across those 9. Every one of them is the same move, made 9 different times. You bought for the version of yourself you pictured in the store, and forgot the version that actually walks around all day. You bought the ceiling you admired instead of the floor you carry. Fix that, and the rest takes care of itself. Decide how you will carry it before you buy. Know the handful of tools you really use, and then get the simplest thing that covers them and rides easy. Do that, and the next multi-tool you own will not die in a drawer. It will be the beat-up thing in your pocket you would actually miss. So drop it below. Which of these 9 did you break, and what did you finally land on once you figured it out? That is the thread I actually look forward to.